time, you control the time, everything else, so you know what's going on.
Welcome back, listeners. Happy Tuesday. I am your host, Chris, aka Prince. This is Darron, aka Meta Grizzly, and we are the New Block Nerds podcast. We are back in Westeros at the Wall with Tyrion. Darron, this is a funny chapter. It's really just Tyrion being classic Tyrion, just kind of poking people. In the Night's Watch management, I guess, if you will. So the chapter kind of opens up. They're sitting around the table, him, Lord Commander Mormont, Sir Alistair, Bowen Marsh, a couple of the other kind of high-ranking Night's Watch folks. And Tyrion is kind of just like poking fun at Sir Alistair, which is hilarious because we're kind of programmed not to like Sir Alistair as is. So anytime someone is fucking with him, like Tyrion is,
it makes it 10 times funnier.
Yeah, because it's funny because we're all like, look at this like joyless, just herb up here at the wall. But you get a little background about like probably why Sir Alistair is so joyless too, because he actually fought during Robert's Rebellion at King's Landing, but on the wrong side. So
I didn't know that, bro. Like at all. I did not know that. Like, of course, fans don't know the war took place. King Robert's team was actually being successful, but there was the side that lost. And what happened to those individuals? And going to the wall was a repercussion for some. So being there was not their desire at all. So it brings more to the mental like strain and also him just being a miserable person.
Right. And so like, you know, to that point, you can kind of understand why Sir Alistair is in a sour mood all the time, because he basically got exiled to the wall just because he was fighting on the other side. And, you know, hindsight's 2020, but at the time, Robert, Ned, and Jon Arryn were rebels. They were rebelling against the established order of the crown. We can, you know, we don't have to get into the debate about like, you know, whether or not it was righteous based on, you know, what happened beforehand. But, you know, to Sir Alistair and even Sir Jeremy Riker, who's in this chapter as well, they both talk about, you know, fighting on the other side of that war. And basically Tywin, after he sacked King's Landing, basically said, all right, well, you can go to the wall or you can die. So not really a great choice.
Yeah, Tyrion made it very clear that his father loves heads on a spike. Like, let it be known that his father is not who he is. His father is a straight war. He's just a commander of all commanders. Like, he wants everyone that's not on his side to lay down. And if you don't lay down, you have one chance to leave. And if you don't take that chance, your head will be here.
Yep.
Get poisoned.
That's how it goes. And
that's
you know,
and
I like that we get a little bit of like Tywin stuff here and there, because we haven't seen Tywin yet in the book.
No,
we have not. So like we're getting all this kind of like reputation about Tywin, especially from Tyrion's point of view, because we understand that their relationship is, for lack of a better term, flawed. Not a great father-son dynamic there, but it's always nice to kind of get those little tidbits, those little tidbits of history in Westeros as you're kind of going through some of these chapters. But
he's a boogeyman right now because everyone knows, you hear his name, and the first thing is like the whole room like tenses up because they're like, yo, the history of this man and the power of this man. This tells you that like the Lannisters are able to do what they want to do because of him. And everyone knows if you cross them, you have to deal with the dad. No one wants to deal with that.
No one wants to do that.
Crazy power in the kingdom. Crazy power.
Yep. I mean, and which is also why Tyrion is able to be who he is fully. I mean, because if he was part of literally any other family, well, I wouldn't say literally any other family. If he was still part of a great house, but because Tywin is his father, even though Tyrion's a dwarf and people don't generally really fool with him like that, they have to put up with him. So they have to entertain him. So like you see, you know, here, even in this setting, the Night's Watch, they're eating crabs and everything like that, which I imagine is a delicacy. I mean, like Tyrion talked about how they had just come in this morning and everything like that. So like these are, you know, fresh crabs and the Night's Watch has been struggling. So like for them to bring out the works for Tyrion, to your point, just speaks volumes about what kind of power the name Lannister holds in Westeros, even at the wall.
Nah, Tyrion just being okay. Let's talk about the one quote, like I'm paraphrasing, when he mentioned like stealing your hand. The Night's Watch was getting so irritated with him cracking jokes at them. Like he
Yeah,
was slightly berating them, but at the same time like being himself. So, but then we said, you know what? Talk with that trash outside. Let's put a blade in your hand. Put steel in your hand. He's like, but I have steel. It's crab right here and a fork. It's just like his overall dynamic of who he is as a person. It will irritate your soul, or you will love and adore him.
yeah.
And the entire table's looking at him like, I cannot touch you because of the child that you are. But man, I want to punch you in your face right now.
Yeah, well, definitely Sir Alistair, and it's funny because after Sir Alistair kind of like storms out, I think it was Commander Mormont he's like, man,
Yeah.
you're kind of wild to be like testing him like that, because I think everyone at the Night's Watch knows that Sir Alistair is kind of I mean, he's uptight, he's kind of
Yeah.
you know what I mean, he's kind of a lame in that way where he's very, 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 very serious, which for a bunch of reasons that we just kind of went over. But Mormont kind of starts getting into his real purpose about inviting Tyrion to dinner here. And unfortunately, Sir Alistair, Sir Jeremy Riker, those are just two of the very, very few knights that they have on the Night's Watch. And Mormont's kind of pleading with Tyrion, like, look, man, we are our manpower has been dwindling for some time now. Like we are less than, I think he said less than 600 total. So you've got I think there's something like 17 or 13 castles along the wall. Only 3 are properly manned, and even those are undermanned. So you got the Shadow Tower, East Watch by the Sea, and of course Castle Black right there in the middle. And Mormont's like, Tyrion, I need you to go to King's Landing and tell them we need some help up here. We need some help. And Tyrion was making a previous chapter. Tyrion was making all those comments to Jon about like Grumpkins and Snarks and all those kind of fables about creatures and stuff like that above the wall or on the other side of the wall.
Mm-hmm.
But you start to see Tyrion start to kind of wonder, like, maybe Mormont's pleas are not baseless.
Not only that, because Mormont's an old man. They even spoke on there that he speaks low, but when he speaks, everyone shuts up.
Mm-hmm.
The wisdom this man has and the longevity he's had tells you that he's not playing around. For him to bring the crab out, also explaining they're going through desperate times. For them to even do that and also be vulnerable to tell you that, hey, we don't have enough. You like Hal's long summer. How many winters have you been a part of?
Right.
The winter's coming. And Tyrion's last jokes were, hey, the good men said that if we are good, that we have everlasting summer. He's like, you're a fool if you believe that. It's
right.
coming. We need resources. We don't have it. All you guys are sending us are people who steal and rape. Like, we don't have any real warriors here. And we will be outmatched easily. And that's a problem.
Yeah. And it's a problem not just for us, even though the rest of Westeros, save for maybe the Starks, have largely forgotten about the wall.
Mm-hmm.
We are the only defense of whatever is north of the wall.
Yep.
If we fall here, whatever comes down, sweeping down from the north, none of you are going to be prepared for, because y'all are not even paying attention. Like you just said, you guys are sending your undesirable people up here, your rapers, your thieves, your murderers, all these people with no skills. I mean, we don't even have 36 people up here who can read and write.
No, not at all.
Like, how do you expect us to cultivate any kind of force up here to defend us from anything when we don't have enough people to lead? I mean, you have Commander Mormont, but he's super long in the tooth. Maester Aemon is like 100.
Yes.
And the only other knights that you have are the likes of like Sir Alistair.
Speaking of that, is like, and then Benjen, and then they can't find Benjen right now. And Benjen literally is like their best one. Like, who do you send to go after Benjen if you can't find him? They're speaking of, hey, so many people are going out, they're not coming back. So it's like, and these are one of our,
and they're good, and these are good men too. I mean, this is Benjen Stark and Sir Waymar. This was another knight, a highborn knight.
So think about that. Like, so you already see how it is. The entire like recipe of disaster we're talking about. The stronger I have that I can send let the dude to recon missions and come back, they're not coming back, which means I am weaker. And then I'm having dinner with you, expressing to you that, hey, you going back to the north, I'm gonna give you 3 men just to make sure, because I don't know what's going on right now. I'm also pleading to you, let you know that, hey, I really, really, really desperately need help up here because we're really crushed.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point about him sending those 3 men to escort Tyrion back down to King's Road to as far as Winterfell, because he's talking about how some of his commanders over at Eastwatch said that the Mountain people have kind of started coming around the wall, from the north, and he's
Mm-hmm.
like, they're running, they're
Yes.
running from something. I've seen wildlings move before like this, but never in these numbers. They're running from something.
Yes.
And the fact that I keep sending my best rangers and they're going missing, or in Garrett's case, which is a callback to the prologue, of course, he ran
Mm-hmm.
and was then later executed by Ned Stark. Mormont's like, this isn't a guy who would run. I sent him with Sir Waymar because Sir Waymar, this was his first ranging. I
Yes.
sent Garrett because he's
Pretty
been on the
boy.
wall for decades.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't a guy who was going to just desert his post, knowing that his life will be forfeit if he's caught. Something's going on up there. And of course, us as the reader, we know what's going on.
Yeah.
And seeing Tyrion kind of brush it off at first, but then really start to think like maybe some real shit is going on up here is very, very interesting, because this is one of the only times since the prologue that we even get mention about or even allude to the others north of the
Of the
wall.
seriousness of what's going on, like even towards the end of the chapter, we're going forward a little bit when he mentions the others could be real. Like, just think about the fact of, like, you get lost in the story too. We've went all around this King's Landing, went up and down, and next thing you know, we're going back to where it all started, the
Mm-hmm.
prologue. That there's a danger that's more important than the games that are being played right now. And you, as a reader, oh shoot, I forgot this even happening. So imagine living in this time period. You're like, hey, I'm doing this, I got to deal with that. I need a new I got all the drama happening going down as far as like the stabbing and the throwing out the actual brands, and like it's so much drama happening and
Mm-hmm.
everyday activities. Like you're trying to find out who the dagger belongs to, all these things. And yeah, we have a bigger enemy that's coming down, and the wildlings that don't listen to anyone, they're running from that too. So help me out. We're not going nowhere right now.
Yeah, and that's why I like how George wrote this story, because he gives us. We start off with the prologue, so he's letting you know this is the most important thing to worry about, and then, like you said, we go into this whole political drama about, the assassination attempt on Bran and everything with the dagger and Ned and King's Landing and all those comings and goings. But then we get this again, and it's like, hey, don't forget this is what's actually important. So I like that every now and then he'll drop something in here.
It's beautiful. It's freaking
Yeah.
beautiful, bro. Because even Danny, like we're not talking about that, and the whole going there, like the whole marriage, like there's so much that's happened since like
Mm-hmm.
the spacing of and it also tells you how long the summer is, and even mentioned in this chapter how the days are getting shorter. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's telling you that it's hey, I'm warning you, bro. It's happening.
It's happening. Summer's
Slowly,
over, dude.
it's
Summer is over.
happening. And even the question, like I found myself asking, like, how many winters you live? What do you mean? Every year is a winter. I'm thinking about my real life. No, and there it's not like that. It goes for
Mm-mm.
years and years. So when the winter comes, it sits there. It's like you are just engulfed in darkness and cold, and just having that plus a fear of the unknown. Yeah, buckle up. You're not ready for it.
Yeah, and to that point, Mormont mentions that like every time that there is a really long summer, a really long winter follows it. So this summer has lasted 9 years.
Keep going on his 10th, right? Yeah, going on 10 years.
So, uh-oh.
That's a
Right?
problem.
Yeah,
So
it's a
how do you
problem.
feel? So how do you feel about how like all this emotions happening, and we mentioned before the last shot that we had with the wall, and how John was basically going to take over from being the arrogant, I guess, army leader type thing. He thought he was the best swordsman. So now he's actually
Mm-hmm.
being the trainer. And how did you feel about actually his conversation with Tyrion at the end about how he's trying to get better with it? How he wasn't even told to hold the sword properly. like little details like that. That tells you how weak their actual roster
Yeah.
is. They didn't even know how to hold a sword.
Yeah, I mean, any conversation with like Tyrion and Jon is just so. I always come off it like I feel so whole, like their conversations are so wholesome,
Yeah.
because they're two people on complete opposite ends of the spectrum as far as political power. But they have found common ground, Jon being a bastard and Tyrion being a dwarf, hence their first conversation a couple of chapters back now. So I always feel like they have this rapport where they can be really honest with each other in a way that a lot of characters in this book or in this series can't really be, because there's always some political angle they're trying to play against each other. Where I feel like Jon and Tyrion are they're just real with each other. And it comes out in every conversation that they have. And, especially when Jon kind of pulls off his glove, as cold as it is, and extends his hand, it's just like, calls him a friend. It's just like, flesh on flesh, like shaking my hand, like I fuck with you, bro. You know what I mean? So that's something that I've always, I've definitely missed, because this is the last time that Jon and Tyrion actually see each other and speak face to face. Because Tyrion leaves the wall after this.
You dropped the bomb. Wow.
Yeah.
You really dropped the bomb for readers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Woo. Yeah. And a lot happens between now.
He's about to begin. Like,
yeah. So, and
for those who watch the show, this you already know it's about to happen.
Yeah. So, and you get Jon still being kind of naive, but very, very much kind of like that cliche kind of like hero complex.
Yes.
Where he's looking out above the wall, and he's like, I know my uncle's out there, and I'm gonna go find him. Like Jon has had this one track mind since he's been at the wall. It's just like, I gotta go find my uncle. And Tyrion's kind of like not discouraging him, but in the back of his mind is kind of like, yeah, but what's gonna happen when you go missing?
Because he's like a realist. Like, he's listening to everything. Like Tyrion, when before the conversation, when he first got there to the wall, now leaving the wall, he's changed his perspective on the actual danger of the others. And maybe with his like wisdom, also with his political things, family, bloodline, and him traveling up and down King's Landing, that he knows a little thing or two about what's real and what's not. Versus Jon, still green. He's very green. That heroism, like, hey, I'm going to go save my uncle. Bro, there's a backside to that. That's not that easy.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
It's a great chapter. I think it's one of the, I would say, not final chapters, but one of the really good chapters early on that kind of explains the dynamic between the politics of the South and King's Landing and their relationship with the Wall, or lack thereof. Because Tyrion, in his inner monologue after Mormont's making his plea of like, talk to them in King's Landing, have them send some help, whatever. And Tyrion's like, I'll talk to them. But in his mind, he's like, I didn't tell him that Robert's going to ignore me. My father's going to ask me if I've lost my fucking mind, and Jaime's just going to laugh. So it's, and that George is putting it all there for us right here, that like no one's taking this threat seriously, and we are so ill prepared for what's coming.
All they care about is the South and the throne. That's all they care about. They don't care about what's going on. But I thought it was really cool to see how Lannister and Snow call each other friend in this particular chapter. Something that won't be said again.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh man. That's
it's all downhill from here.
It's I can't wait. I cannot freaking wait. Like, these chapters have been so like so cool, so refreshing.
Yeah, and like they're not even super long, but there's so much. There's so much in these chapters, even though they're only like a couple of pages long. Some of them are longer than others, of course, but yeah, always lots to unpack, man. I'm really enjoying kind of going through chapter and chapter with you guys. So, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment below, let us know what you guys thought about the chapter. I always love engaging with you guys on Instagram or YouTube. So, Darron,
Yeah.
it's been a pleasure, bro, and
Always be.
we'll catch you
Always.
guys next week.
All right. Peace and love.